Hey guys, it's Chelle with the Lemonade Store, and I just wanted to give a quick intro today. I'm having a cup of some coffee, and I did this Yupo paper with some watercolor for the very first time, and I kind of learned a little tips in here, and I'm not sure if it actually was a success. I'm going to say it kind of failed, but we're going to show that video today. And thank you for all of those people who commented on my loose florals painting when we were talking about Bella. That actually was such a good healing process for me to get all of that off of my chest. And I immediately went after that and cut bangs, because that's what you do. You revamp yourself when you need some new energy. And if you could see behind me, I've changed my craft area in the dining room again, but I actually think this is the last time. I think I've actually nailed it down. So we're going to finally, once I finish organizing, I'll work on doing a little video for you guys. So let's talk about a couple of things. I wanted to talk about my Patreon and kind of where that's going. I have decided that I was going to start adding some of my courses on Patreon. So if you are in the tiers for getting the classes, you're going to have access to some of the courses that I've put on other platforms like Skillshare. So you're going to start getting tutorials over there, and if you are one of my Patreons this last month, I sent you some snail mail, so make sure you leave me your address, because I want to send you stuff. So if I have a cool print that I like, or maybe like some Lemonade Store swag, I'm going to start sending that to my Patreons. And I'm super excited. So thank you to the 6 or so that are over there right now. I know some of you have come and gone, and it's because I didn't really know what I was doing. This is all new to me. So thank you guys so much. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about, before we get into the Yupo and the watercolor, is that, here, I have this one. I have this little, can you see this? I have this School Supplies August 2019 challenge that I'm co-hosting over on my Instagram, and we can you can do anything over there. This is just, I'm doing this because a couple of things. One, I think the motivation helps me. I probably won't get to all 31 of these in August because it's back to school for my kids too, but it gives me a prompt. I can sit down for 10-15 minutes, either doodle, do some lettering, do a flat lay. I think I'm going to do some where I'm actually doing a photograph or something. And it's just a way to spark creativity. So I think it'd be good for like bullet journaling, or just practicing something that you want to practice. And what's nice about this is that when you're on Instagram and you do this and you're using the hashtag, my goal, which has always helped, is like, I not only encourage people I've never met, I'm meeting new people. I'm going to try and find and like everybody who participates in the challenge. And it's just a really great way to get that sense of community on Instagram and meet new people. This is how I started doing lettering on Instagram, and this is how I met so many amazing people, so that I now consider my friends. Yay! So if you haven't done it and you want to get better at doing some of these art things, then it's an easy way just to get involved and get to know one another. So I got to figure out what I'm going to put behind me. I don't really hang up my own art, which I don't know if that's weird or not, but I'm not sure what to do behind me yet. So right now it's a blank wall. But if you have any good ideas, leave a comment below, because I really need to put something behind me. It's kind of blank. You can see the holes from my giant shelf that I had there before, if you've seen that before. But I'm excited because it feels so much better energy-wise. So yay, I think I finally nailed it down, and we could do a craft tour soon. So let's get started. Hope you guys are well, and I'll see you soon. Okay, so what am I doing today? I wanted to do just some, like, in my mind, what I was seeing was just like some really super loose blobby florals, and then I wanted to doodle on top of that. And I am using some Yupo paper, and this was the same type of paper that I was using in my last Sharpie video. So I just had it out still, and I'm messing around with it, and I still feel like I have to learn what to do with this. So I'm not an expert. I'm just kind of messing around and testing it, and kind of that's what you do when you get new art supplies. And I really haven't watched any videos on it or anything, because I like to experiment sometimes just on my own first and then see what happens. So with this, it's like a very plastic, it's actually made out of, it's like polypropylene, I think, or something, but it's like a paper made out of plastic. So what happens is that the watercolor doesn't absorb like it would on a normal piece of watercolor paper. It really just kind of sits and pools on top, and it kind of gives it a cool like effect, I feel like, 'cause it's kind of like the same when you see alcohol inks on it. It just kind of pools there. So it takes a very, very long time to dry. Very, very long time to dry. So I'm just making some different like watercolor flower blobs, and I'm using Daniel Smith watercolors here. So I'm going to kind of let it play. You'll see what happens, and then I'll bump back in and you can see what kind of mistakes I made. Okay, so when you see me kind of pushing the paint around, that's actually me drying my paintbrush off and pulling up some of the paint. I feel like it just was pooling there, and I'm like, oh, this is never gonna dry. But at the same time, it kind of leaves like cool like streaks and stuff too. So it's something definitely I'm gonna play around with a little bit more. I like it. So it's like, I just don't know if I think I could do a better job. Let me put it that way. I think I could do it better. So I started drying it with my little heat tool, and this is where mistake number one shows up. It's plastic, so you gotta move quick, and if you get too close, the paper will actually melt and warp. And I melted and warped it. Like I held it too long in one spot, and I probably got distracted by my kids or something, and I definitely like crinkled the paper, like it warped it, melted it. So you have to be conscious about doing that. And I could see like how maybe the heat tool just gets too hot. Maybe a hair dryer on a lower heat setting might work, but I felt like I still use the heat tool afterwards, because there's just so much, it's so wet, and I don't always have a ton of time to sit and create when it's summer, because it's summertime. My kids are home, so we're doing stuff. But this was fun. but I kind of am in love with the way that the flowers look. So, yeah, I just need to do more practice. But you'll see, right, I'm going to crinkle the paper like right coming up here, and boom, it crinkled. I don't know if you could see it. It's so subtle, like right there. There's like a divot, and I tried to press it out. I tried to warm it from the back to loosen it up, but yeah, that it stayed crinkled. So that's, I mean, maybe if you iron it or something, it might work. But that's, I guess that's all part of the testing and learning process. So note to self, don't get too close with the heat tool. So finally, after it dried, and I let it dry for like 24 hours before I started doodling. And I picked up my graphic liner. I don't know how you pronounce the name, but it's Ohto, OHTO, and I'll link everything below. But it's a waterproof and fade-proof pen, and I like these pens because it's like a needle point. It's a little bit different than the micron. I always bend microns. I think I pressed too hard. But I loved the way it went over the paper. It's super smooth. And I really enjoyed the process of doodling. And if you're like me and you ever get stuck on what to doodle, I would just go on Pinterest. There's always so many like Zentangle examples, or go to Barnes and Noble, look at some books. I mean, I love Pinterest. I'm always pinning, beautiful things there. Yeah, so I just had a really fun time doodling. And I think because of adding the doodles on top, I will be experimenting with this a little bit more. This was fun, super relaxing, super relieved stress for me. And I really just can't wait to kind of experiment with this a little bit more. I think this is like, I'm growing as an artist for sure. Like, I want to start putting things in journals. I want to start, documenting a little bit more, pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I just loved this. This was so much fun. So if you haven't tried this, I would totally recommend it. Now, let's talk about the pens really quick. So I love these pens. And as final touches on this really quick, I just went through with a white acrylic marker, and this is the Posca pen, and just to add some cute dots and stuff. Okay, so the ink, just like the watercolors, takes quite a long time for it to dry. Like I kind of, even if you can kind of see on the right hand side of the screen where my hand smeared the watercolor that was drying 24 hours, still smeared. And then somehow I smeared a little bit of ink up at the top. And then lastly, my daughter came to tell me how much she loved it, and she grabbed the lower left hand side. And this was like hours after the ink had dried, and it's still smeared. So I got to do some experimenting. I think maybe I'll just do a video on which pens would dry faster on the Yupo paper. So that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and hit that notifications bell if you want to get notified of all future videos. Thanks, you guys.